Welcome to another Fast Tips video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I am your instructor, Richard Rost. This is going to be another Fast Tips series, just like I did with the follow-ups series earlier. We're going to build a new type of database for tracking association members. Whether you're dealing with a golf club or a educational institution or a church, this will be a database for you. So I decided to do another database in steps. In other words, where I show you step 1, step 2, step 3 as a series of videos. I did something similar a couple of weeks ago with my follow-ups database. If you remember watching this, I added follow-ups to my Tech Help Free template with the customers and the contacts and all that. It was like a 7-part series, got lots of positive feedback, and tons of people emailed me asking if I could build something similar. So I'm going to do another one of these series where I'm going to build the database step by step, give you guys a little bit at a time, and then we'll add more based on your feedback. Lots of people ask me to show more of my process for building new databases. In my Access Beginner Level 1 class, which is free, I give you a brief overview of how to get started building a database, but I really want to get the new user, right into building with Access. So we talk about, a couple things for how to set up your tables and your fields and all that, but we really just want to get into building, your customer database fast. So in this database, I'm going to show you more of my process for how I lay out the different tables and the fields and the relationships before we even start building the database. So what I've decided to do based on the tons of emails I get is an association database. Now, what does that mean? I tried to come up with a nice generic term for any kind of membership database. It could be a homeowners association, a country club, a boat club, a golf club, whatever kind of club you're in. Church membership database. Lots and lots of people ask me if I have anything for building a church membership database. So that's a big one. Any kind of a social club, a gaming group, educational institutions if you want to track student enrollment, rec centers, all kinds of stuff. Any kind of membership database, whether it's for pay or for a donation basis like a church, whatever you want to do, this database will be able to handle it. So what's included? Most of this database is going to be absolutely free. Feel free to build along with me at home or just watch and enjoy. I know I'm super entertaining. There will be some extended cuts for members where I add some cool nifty features or things that are heavily involved with VBA programming. So there's going to be some extra bells and whistles, but the core of the database will work just fine, and it will be free. You're going to have to build it yourself, but gold members can download the databases that I build from my website. I do, however, recommend you build it yourself if you want to learn what I'm doing. The best way you can learn is to do it and make some mistakes. Try it yourself. Don't just download my copy and work with that. When we're all done and finished with this, it will be available for purchase as a template on my website, in case you don't want to become a member, but you want a copy of the database and get the version that I build with all my extra bells and whistles. But the big takeaway is that this database is going to be driven by your feedback. I'm going to release a couple pieces here and there over the next couple weeks, and each time I do, I'm going to read your comments and your feedback and what you guys are talking about. If there's a feature that you want to see me add, post it in the comments, and if enough people are interested and I think it's a good idea, then I'll go ahead and add it. Some of you guys post some crazy requests. I'm not even going to get into that. And also, let me know if there are any other types of databases that you want to see me build in the future. And if this series is popular, and a lot of people watch it and comment on it, then I'll do more of this kind of stuff. All right, so let's get started. The first thing that you need to do whenever you're sitting down to build any database, before you even touch the computer, before your hand's even on your mouse, you need to make a list of what features you want the database to have. Okay, think very generically in broad terms. For example, I'm making an association database. What features? Well, I want to track people, and people can be part of families. Okay. I want to track demographic information about each person. Then I want to have different memberships. Now, even if you're not a membership-based organization, for example, let's say you're a church and you don't really have memberships, you can use memberships to track like different groups if you have different like outreach groups or something. So a membership is just a generic term for a group or something within the organization that you want to be able to put people in different categories, let's say. But you can also have that for your membership dues. You can track your membership fees and stuff like that. We also want to have events and track attendance. You want to know who's there at your different events. And we're going to show you some cool tricks for automating that. Then, of course, tracking dues, whether or not you have them. Okay, again, you can have people in different membership groups that aren't necessarily being charged a membership fee, but you also want to be able to track donations that they give. Okay, and then we'll be able to track those donations into different funds. Maybe you got a building fund or an outreach fund, something like that. Now that you know what features your database is going to have, what generic things you're going to be tracking, now it's time to start making a specific list of the tables that you think you'll need. Try to list them all if you can. All right, run through your brain, get all the tables. It's easier if you have a good roadmap up front of all the tables you'll need. And sure, you're going to add some later, or you might decide you might not need some, and get rid of some ones that you started with. Like I was going to do a different group table, and then I thought to myself, well, you could have, instead of having memberships and then having groups, you could just have a membership where you don't charge with a zero dues that are being charged, for example. And that would just be a group. So there's no sense in reinventing the wheel, okay, if something can fit into more than one thing. Like, for example, I've seen some people build databases like this. Let's take a church database, for example, where you've got the members of the church, you've got the administrators, the people who work in the office, you've got the clergy, right, pastors and whatever. There's no need to make 3 separate tables, right, to store that. They're all people. It's all the same kind of thing, right? So we'll have one person table. And then in that person table, we'll have a person type. What type of person are they? Are they a member? Are they clergy? Are they a group leader? Are they whatever? Okay? All right, membership type. You get different types of memberships, whereas the actual membership table will track the specific membership information for that person. We've got events and attendance. Okay, different tables. A donations table. And we're going to do contacts and invoices. We're going to piggyback this database on my existing Tech Help template because a lot of the groundwork is already done as far as formatting the forms and stuff like that. And we'll use the contacts for just tracking notes with the person. We can also use it for correspondence. And we're going to use the invoicing system that I've already built to send their monthly dues or whatever if they have dues, or to send them a receipt for a donation, either one. So if you have not watched any of my other Tech Help videos yet, if this is your first time with me, welcome. But make sure you go watch my blank template video. This shows you how I build my basic template that I start all of my databases with. It's got all my options and stuff that I have in there. Then go watch my customer contacts database. This is where I show you how to track the contacts for each customer. And there's some good nuggets of information in there about using subforms and continuous forms and things. You should know this stuff. We're going to do a lot in this database with this subform concept. And you'll see what I mean as we get to it. And then eventually go watch this invoicing database. We're going to get to this in a little while. We're not going to start off with this right away. But as we get to the membership and the donations tracking, and we want to be able to send out bills or invoices or receipts, we're going to use this stuff. So go watch this too. Okay, now that you know what tables your database is going to need, I like to determine what fields each table needs next. It gives me a general idea of what is going to be stored in each table. I really like to use Excel for this. Excel is perfect for laying out your tables and getting an idea of your relationships. So let's switch over to Excel. Excel is it's great for laying stuff out. I use this like when we just got a new house recently, and I used Excel to do the floor plan of how I wanted to lay the furniture out. You just do this, shrink this down so it's about like a square, and now you've got basically graph paper, right? So I use Excel for all kinds of things, none of which for storing data. That's what Access is for, unless it's something small. You could start off small projects in Excel and then graduate them to Access. It gives you an idea of what kind of stuff you're going to need later on. But okay, so the first thing we need, let me zoom in a little bit here. The first thing we're going to need is our person table. Person T. Okay? And I like to keep all my table names and my field names singular if I can. There are some exceptions, like notes. I've been using notes forever, and note doesn't really do it for me. Now, pretty much every table is going to have an auto number primary key ID field. So person ID. And if I forget to put one down in the future, it's going to have it. When we get to building the table, you'll know that. Now, each person can be assigned to a person type. Now, whether you want to do this as a one-to-many relationship or a many-to-many relationship is up to you. In other words, do you have people that fall into multiple types in your organization? Usually you've got you've got for a church, for example, and that's the example I'm probably going to come back to a lot. You got your clergy and you got your members, okay? Very seldom are they both the same thing. They might be. I'm going to start the database off assuming that each person can be assigned to one type. So it's a one-to-many relationship, much easier to set up. If you guys want to see me do it many-to-many, where a person can be in multiple types, then that's up to you guys. We are going to do memberships as many-to-many. And we'll talk about that in a minute. That way a person can have multiple memberships or groups that they're in. All right, so in addition to the primary key, we need a person type ID. And the person type is going to be in a different table. So we'll move down here. Person type table. Okay. Now, we need the person's name, address, and yes, when I'm prototyping here in Excel, I know that name is going to involve first name, middle initial, last name, or whatever other parts you want. Those should be separate fields. Just like address. We've got street address, city, state, zip code. All right. But for the prototyping part in Excel, I know what this means. Okay. Just like I'm going to put in here phone, so don't forget phone. All right. This doesn't have to be perfect. This doesn't have to be exactly like you're going to build it in Access. This is mostly just to, give you a blueprint. So when we do get to Access, we know exactly what we got going on. And unless I say otherwise, pretty much every table is going to get a notes field and a date created field. It's just interesting stuff to have. It's good stuff to have. I'm going to bold these. Pretty much every table is going to have that and an ID field. Okay? Now, for persons, there's a bunch of stuff that you can indicate that they are in or not. And these are going to be yes, no fields. I've got is active. Right? Are they an active person? Like when someone dies, for example, you don't want to delete their record. You want to have their information, to keep it for whatever accounting you might need in the future, for example. So you don't want to delete them. I got a whole video on not deleting data. I'll put a link to that down below. But if you mark them inactive, they're not going to show up in all your lists. So like when you're doing attendance, for example, you don't want to see people who are not active in that big long list of all those people. Is a regular attendee is something I came up with. Is regular attendee. All right, when we do our attendance for stuff, okay, you know how every group has people who are almost always there, like they're every week, and then there's people who come like twice a year, okay? So this is just something for you to mark them as a regular attendee, because we're going to have a feature later where we can say, okay, I want to just automatically add the regular attendees when I take attendance, and then I can mark off if one of them is missing or not. That's just a neat little thing I thought we'd add. Okay, and of course the benefit of building your own Access database is you get to pick what features you want. If you don't think you'll use that, don't put it in there. I don't care. It's your database. Put the Legos together however you want. Okay. Now we've got an address. Oh, we got an email address. Don't forget email address. Let's put that up here too. I almost forgot about email. And of course, this brings up the age-old question: what about multiple email addresses, multiple phone numbers, multiple addresses? I got whole videos on these. We're going to keep it simple for now and just do one each. All right. I think for most group-based databases, one email, one phone, one address. If you want to add more, add more. And again, I got whole videos on the subject of tracking multiples. I'll put a link down below in the link section to my multiple phone numbers video. You can go watch that if you want to add more than one. So anyways, we got their email address, we got their regular address, so we're going to have different mailing lists. Okay, now you could set up a separate table just for mailing lists, but I think for most groups, we're going to have an is on email list and is on mailing list. And that'll indicate you got people who you might want to send out your weekly email bulletins to, like, hey, this is what we got coming up this week. Make sure you don't miss it. And then you might have your quarterly or your annual, maybe your Christmas mailing list, whatever it is. So is this person going to actually get a physical thing in the mail? Okay, now in a minute we're going to show you how we're going to do family table too, and you might have multiple people grouped in a family, okay, but only one of those people is on the mailing list. All 5 of them might be on the email list. You might want to send email bulletins to everybody in the family. Sure, why not? Doesn't cost you anything. Well, anything much. 0.0001 cent, whatever it is. But only one person in that family might be on the actual physical mailing list. Okay? And then also is in directory, okay, directory you might have people who do and do not want to be printed in your directory. And I got a whole different video on doing a directory booklet, which we'll talk about when we get to it. And then finally, I'm just going to put in here payment info. And again, this falls into the one or many thing. If you are tracking dues, or if they do pay with donations on a regular basis, you could store whatever payment information you want. Do they pay by check, PayPal, Venmo, credit card number? That's up to you. I'm just going to leave it at PayPal or payment PayPal. I use PayPal for everything. I'm just going to leave it as payment info for now. We'll discuss that in more detail a little bit later on. Don't go too crazy about these, but I always find when I sit down to do this part of it, I always think of extra things I want to add. Right, like I got with the email list thing and the mailing list thing, and I always come up with a million different things to add to the database while I'm doing this part of it. Better to add this stuff now than it is when we start to actually get to form design later on. Okay, now this person type T. We're going to do something different with this in just a minute. But for now, just think about what you want with this right here. We need just a list of what kind of person this is. Based on your group, your association, okay, what are the different types of people you got? You might have members, mentors, leaders, moderators, admins, clergy, whatever yours is, right? The managers and the not managers. It doesn't matter. So this basically is just going to be a list of things, right? An ID. So we'd have a person type ID, and then we'd have maybe a description, and then maybe some notes, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so keep that in mind. We're going to come back to this in a minute. In fact, I like to take these things in color. Bring this guy up here. Come here. Whoop. Get back here. All right, where'd you go? I like to use the cell styles. Let's go with blue. All right, so people are blue. Okay, and I'm already going to have to zoom out a little bit. Is that too small to see? Let's go back. Okay. Just collapse that. All right, need more space. All right, so we got person type T just sitting there. Very simple, little tiny table, nothing really going on. Next up from my list, what do we have? All right, we covered people. Let's do the family table next. We got family, then demographics. So I'm going to put family T here. Okay. And, of course, we got a family ID, a description, and then I'm going to put in here a head person ID. What does this mean? Well, this is a family table that a person may or may not belong to, okay? Because you can have just individuals, but you might want to group them together to know who's all together in the same family. So that's what the family T is going to be for. It's got a family ID, a description, the Smith family, whatever you want to call them, I don't care. Okay? A head person indicating who the head of that household is, the head of the group, head of the family, whatever. Okay, so now we need a way to track what family each person is in. So that's going to go right in here, and I like to keep all the IDs up top. Okay, so let me copy and paste here so we get the same style. And family ID. Now this is going to be optional. All right, optional. Don't necessarily have to be in a family, but if you are, there it is. This is how we'll track people who are related together. Okay. And so now I'm going to take this and let's colorize this guy here. I try to keep the stuff that's kind of related together to kind of the same color. So we'll go a little bit darker blue here. We'll go maybe to that. Yeah, so these are kind of related. If you want to draw little lines on here, you can. I don't usually. I just kind of know. Family ID, right? Head person ID is a person ID. Okay. Could you put just person ID here? Sure, but then it gets kind of confusing. But again, it's up to you, because you might want to add, other people in the family later on. Billing person. I do this with sales forces, for example. A company might have a billing contact, a sales contact, a service contact. It's okay to name them differently. Just remember, if the field is named differently, then queries aren't going to make those automatic ad hoc relationships for you. So you have to make those yourself. That's not a big idea. Big deal. All right. So next up is demographics. Actually, we forgot our, just so we don't forget every time, we need notes, and we need a date created for every field, for every table. Almost every table. All right? But that's handy to have. You want to know when the family table was created. Okay, the family record. Okay, next we need demographic. All right, demographic ID, person ID, so we know who this is talking about. Okay, date of birth, DOB is fine. Now, I got a bunch of things I want to track, and again, this is completely dependent upon your organization. Some people want to track more, some people want to track less, some people don't want demographics at all. If that's the case, don't build this table. You might want to track their gender. Okay, now, gender, especially as of late, is something that is not, you could be, very old school definition with this, and you got male and female, that's it. You might be more progressive and have other things like transgender or whatever you want to have in there. That's completely up to you. But I like to make gender a list of options. Okay, so that tells me I need another table. So I need a gender T. Okay, with a gender ID, a description, and maybe some notes. Okay, all right. So this will now be a gender ID. We need a marital status. Okay, which again is a small list of options. Okay, so now we need a marital status table with a marital status ID, a description, and some notes. You see what I'm getting at here, right? We've got a ton of these little tables we're going to need for that, for occupation, for education level, maybe ethnicity. Okay, do I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little tiny tables in my database that all they do is store a simple list of information with really no other data? No? Well, that's why I invented something a while back called a helper table. And if you've watched my other videos on this, or you've seen my ABCD videos, I use the helper table a lot because it gets rid of a lot of unnecessary small tiny tables. All right, I got a whole video on it. If you want, watch this video before we start getting into the next couple lessons so you get a better idea for how this works. I'm going to go through it a little bit in this series, but go watch this. I'll put a link to this down below as well. It's a very handy video. Okay, so we don't need all of these things. I'm just going to make a list of what we need to put in the helper table. All right, so let's get rid of this. I'll put it over here. All right, we need a helper type table, which is basically going to be the stuff that we need over here. So we need our person table, person type, our gender, our basically all this stuff here. Copy and paste. That's all going in the helper table. And you can see how it cleans up the database a lot. Okay, so these would all be IDs, right? Occupation ID, education level ID, ethnicity ID, and those will all point to this table over here. All right, person type ID, gender. Okay. You're probably thinking, this guy's crazy. What's he doing? You'll see when we get to it. Go watch the helper type thing. Color this. Let's make this one. Okay. Demographics can be colored slightly differently. Let's go with, I'll go darker. Okay. Okay, we're already getting over 20 minutes. I'm going to try and keep these to like 10 to 15 minutes per part, per lesson. I don't want to go too long on each one. But I know there's a lot of setup and a lot of description in here. So we still have some more stuff to talk about. We'll get to it in the next level. We've got to talk about the event table, the attendance table, the donation table, the contact table, which we already have built in the other database, the order table, and some other related stuff there. And then we'll get into actually starting to build these tables. All right. All right, so there you go. There's part 1. We're going to be doing more with this in part 2, and we're going to actually start getting to building some of this stuff in Access. Go watch some of those other videos that I pointed you to if you haven't already. That's your homework. And already, based on what you've seen, throw some ideas at me. Tell me what you want to see coming up in the next several parts. It's better to get these ideas now before I build too much of the database, right? The more ideas you have up front, the easier it is to build into it later, as opposed to going back and, it's like building a house. You want to get the foundation built right before you start putting stuff on top of it, because if you got to go back and change the foundation, it's timely and costly. And, I mean, yeah, computers aren't that bad as far as that goes. You don't have to, dig up concrete and stuff. All right, so tell me what you think, and I'll see you soon with part 2.
If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free, and click on the bell icon to select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Make sure you click the Show More link down below the video to find additional resources and links. You'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted, so if you'd like to get an email every time I post a video, click on the link to join my mailing list. Even if you don't want to become a member, feel free to donate to my tip jar. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got puppies to feed. How do you become a member? Click on the Join button below the video. After you click the Join button, you'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks. Silver members and up will get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class each month, and more. Gold members get access to download all of the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus my code vault, where I keep tons of different functions that I use. You'll also get a higher priority if you decide to submit any tech help questions to me, and you'll get one free expert class each month after you finish the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks, plus even higher priority for tech help questions, access to all of my full beginner courses for every subject, and one free developer class each month after you finish the expert classes. These are the full-length courses found on my website, not just for Access too. I also teach Word, Excel, Visual Basic, and lots more. You can now become a Diamond sponsor and have your name or company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown in each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. But don't worry, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you have not yet tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access. It's over 4 hours long, and I just updated it for 2021. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll include a link below that you can click on. And also, if you like Level 1, Level 2 is just $1. Yep, that's all, $1, and it's free for all members of my YouTube channel at any level, even supporters. Want to have your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page on my website. You can send me your question there. While you're on my site, feel free to stop by the Access Forum. Lots of good conversations happening there. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course, YouTube. Once again, my name is Richard Ross. Thank you for watching this Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something today. I'll see you again soon.